have been over 400 arrests in the whole of the Kharkiv region for people that were collaborating with Russians.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky made his first trip outside the Kyiv region since the Russian invasion began. He's been in Kharkiv, that is, of course, the second biggest city, and he's been surveying the damage. We can speak to Antonia Cundy, who is reporting from Kharkiv. Good morning to you, Antonia.
Morning.
Presumably this was quite a surprise. I mean, it would have had to be under wraps, really, wouldn't it? The fact that he was, such a valuable person that's kind of moving out with the confines of the Kyiv region.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I was actually speaking with two commanders who are on the front line, and they knew nothing about it. And then we sort of checked our phones and saw that it had happened. And they were, really amazed. They happened to be in the centre of the city at the time. He walked around central Kharkiv, kind of surveying the damage, and then was also around the front lines on the north and northeast of the city, where he met the troops that have been not just defending the city, but sort of, actually pushing Russian forces back, sometimes as far as the Russian border. So it was, incredibly significant for them, that kind of morale boost.
What has been the situation in Kharkiv? How badly hit has it been if you compare it to the other cities that we hear so much about? I find it quite hard because there's so much emphasis on Mariupol, quite rightly, and on Kyiv and the contrast between them. But where in that contrast, where in that spectrum or on that spectrum does Kharkiv fall?
It probably is about in the middle. I mean, there are areas of the city which are really severely damaged. Like, for example, the kind of main mayor's building is gutted. The half of it is missing, and it's an enormous building. There are lots of images of that. It was quite a kind of famous missile strike that sort of cut the building in two. There are some streets where you can see all over the ground the kind of pot marks of grenades and shattered glass and broken shop fronts is a sort of normal occurrence as you walk around. It distinctly feels like a wartime city, whereas when you go to Kyiv, there are some checkpoints and a few neighborhoods with damage, but it doesn't feel like a wartime city, whereas Kharkiv still does. Supermarkets have MDF boarding on them. They basically look closed, incredibly uninviting, but they are open. In the last week or so, a few more cafes and restaurants have started to open, but it's not, being out on the streets after 8 p.m. gets a little bit eerie, and curfew's still at 9. So it's a long way off Kyiv. And just the other day, after a sort of 1.5 week reprieve, they did in fact shell only about 4 kilometers north of the centre of the city, and at least 9 people died. So that was a kind of possibly a reminder from Russia, just saying, we're still here, you're still within range.
Yes. And what is the situation? I mean, in terms of Kharkiv itself, there were reports that, that he was handing out, President Zelensky was handing out these medals, and that he had sacked the security chief of the city for not defending civilians, presumably, sufficiently. What does that mean? And what did the security chief do wrong?
Yeah, it's hard to know at this point. I mean, there's kind of speculation that he focused on, preserving his family, and then others kind of proliferating rumours that he might have been actually collaborating, which is not an outlandish claim. I don't know if that's true in this instance, but there have been over 400 arrests in the whole of the Kharkiv region for people that were collaborating with Russians. Obviously, we don't know these individual cases, how strongly is the word collaborating being used. But Zelensky said that he kind of prioritized himself and his own safety. So reading between the lines of that, it's sort of difficult to know, but they'll make a kind of criminal case, I imagine, quite soon, when we'll hopefully have more information.
Yes. Antonia, thank you very much. That's Antonia Cundy, who is reporting from Kharkiv.